Hello and welcome to another Tuesday Talk with Ruby Reese. Shortly, I will be joined by Laura from Animal Healing Cork to talk about a topic that I am very, very new to and have very little experience with. I'm really excited to getting to know more about. We set up these talks just a couple of years ago to, one second, I think Laura's. In the chat, and if the Instagram gods will let us, we should shortly be connected. Hello, Laura. How are you doing?
I'm just going to turn my camera around. I thought I had that.
No problem. No problem. I'm just delighted that I can hear you and that I can see something, because it's not always the case when we go on live.
Okay. Sorry, tech isn't my thing. Oh,
that is absolutely fine, and tech doesn't always work for us either, so that's absolutely fine. Thank you so much for joining me. Will we jump straight in and have you introduce yourself to everyone?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on. Anyway, for starters, I suppose the idea of animal healing can be a little woo-woo to people, so I'm always really grateful for the opportunity to talk about it and just how beneficial I found it. So about myself, I suppose I didn't always work with energy, but I always had an interest in it as as young as kind of teens. Where you kind of get into the phase of the crystals and the essential oils, and some people leave it there, others go mad like me and continue all their life at it. But before I started energy healing, I worked in various jobs that involved animals. So I ran a boarding kennel for 10 years. I worked with horses, starting and training them. And recently enough, worked in farms and stuff, and kind of did a bit of part-time work with farming. So I kind of have a little bit of everything. I have loads of animals myself. So it's just, I suppose, a great love of mine. And when I could combine what I do spiritually with animals, it just seems to make so much sense to me.
That's a brilliant introduction. I love that it's two things that you really, really enjoy coming together as well. So from my side, just a brief introduction for anyone that doesn't know me either. I'm Killian from Ruby Reese. We're a dog brand, also from Cork. And we set up just over 2 years ago with loads of natural treats, high quality dog shampoo, nutritional supplements, and all that kind of stuff. You can check out our website afterwards. But we set up these talks just a couple of months ago, or almost, I think, a year ago actually, because we noticed that there's so much knowledge and so many interesting corners and sides to the Irish dog community and the knowledge that's there. So we love to have people on to talk about their area of expertise. So I am delighted to have you on to talk about this. It's an area that, and I've already spoken to you in the last couple of days, that it's an area that I haven't touched upon at all. I don't know very much at all about chakras or anything like this. So this is a brilliant opportunity as well, because we can use my ignorance, let's say, to start off with the absolute basics. So let's start off with energy healing. Like, explain it to me like I'm a child. What is energy healing all about?
I suppose, people can overcomplicate it. Mm-hmm. Basically, all living things are made up of energy. We are made up of energy. Animals, plants, anything that is living is made up of energy. And I guess what energy healing does is work on the universal energy that is all around us. And by channeling that, we say myself as a practitioner or other practitioners almost treat you like a car that's battery is flat. So you need to be jump started. You have the ability to get going yourself again,
Yeah.
but you need this energy to jump, plug in the jump leads and jump start you again.
Yeah.
So it's not that someone is healing you, they're giving you the ability to heal yourself.
Okay. And is an approach as well, I'm not distracting from the question because I know you're probably not finished with that answer, but I just also want to say, is an approach very different for working with humans and working with other beings, let's say like animals?
In one regard, working with animals is much easier because animals are like children. They don't hold on to things in the same way that we do as adults.
Yeah.
So the healing time for, say, dogs, horses, animals is much shorter than that of humans. You could need a 45-minute session, and most animals are done between 7 to 30 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So
they don't hold on to things in the way that we do. And in general, what they do hold on to is our stuff, the stuff that they have taken from our energies. So, you see a dog, they shake things off, they let things go. They have their own ways of shedding negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, the energies that they hold on to is our grief, our trauma. And you know how they take that from us. When you're sick, your dog will nuzzle up to you and try and heal you.
I was going to say, the minute you kind of start getting flustered about something, your dog will start looking around and saying, "Oh, what's going on? What's happening to my wolf pack?" in a way. So I get that they kind of take on our, let's say, emotional baggage quite easily as well.
Yeah, and that's, they don't mind doing that. That's their job. Because sometimes I feel that, you might have people going through a separation, you might have people going through loss, grief, and they feel guilty then that they are putting this on their dog. But dogs are very, very special beings, and they come to heal. It's like they really literally are a gift from God or spirit or whoever you believe in. Their job is to help us, and they thrive on that. And I suppose that's how I got into using my energy healing with my own dogs, because yourself, they hold you together, they just lift the energy in the house, and I felt they needed to be repaid, so to speak, from it, for doing that.
Absolutely.
And so that's when I started giving my own dogs.
And like this, that's a non-disputed fact. I mean, going down through history, I mean, companion animal is something that always comes up, but equally man's best friend or woman's best friend, it's so the dogs in particular are hugely important to our lives. So it really doesn't surprise me that you're saying that at all. And now going back to energy healing in general, you've mentioned, and your page mentions quite a bit about Reiki as well. So is there a difference, or is Reiki a type of energy healing, or how do we understand that? How do we sense make that?
Yeah, so Reiki is a form of energy healing. There are a lot more different types now, I guess, but most people are more familiar with the Usui, what people call the basic Reiki.
Okay.
And that works with the universal earth energy that we draw from all around us. Mm-hmm. Then you have different modalities, is kind of what you'd call them, therapies. Like I use Kundalini Reiki, so that's a Reiki then that uses the energy that's all around us in the universe, but draws up from the earth energy as well. So you're getting universal energy and earth energy together. So they have different almost elements to them.
Okay.
And then one that the animals really love is Rahani Celestial Healing. And that's kind of a newer modality. It's around since about 2012, thereabouts. And that is described as the healing for this new age. So, we're in a new age energetically. I don't want to get too into it to complicate things, but, the energies are changing as the world changes, and we need to have different ways of balancing them out.
Could I make a very immature comparison to the different types of Reiki maybe being similar to the different types of yoga that people practice, that it's kind of focusing on slightly different things and slightly different philosophies, but all kind of coming from the same family of category, is it? Is that kind of
that's a good way of putting it.
Okay.
You're drawing energy to kickstart somebody's healing or repair blockages or remove blockages. And what you draw that from Just depends on what you're using.
Yeah.
There's so many different modalities.
And I suppose, like, I want to bring up an elephant in the room because there's going to be loads of skeptics listening as well. And I think healthy skepticism is a brilliant place to start. But where does science come into all of this as well? So I know that obviously we know that there are energies in the earth. That's not disputed. Magnetic fields have been known about for absolute millennia. I think there's a lot of kind of indications that our ancestors built a lot of their structures along specific lines, and if you look at a bird's eye view or an aerial view of areas, you can clearly see historical sites are kind of mapped out in specific ways. So how much is proven, how much is left open to be proven, like just so that that maybe we can take some more people along the journey with us to get that question at least touched on?
I suppose I'm possibly the wrong person to ask that because I'm not academically minded. Maybe that's why I do what I do. I trust. I suppose I've seen the results. I got into healing myself originally to deal with grief. And I saw what it did for me. And then I began working with others. I suppose even the skeptics and the most skeptics, if you're really desperate, you'll try anything.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And, I suppose, can I answer your question properly? Probably not, because I'm not. I don't even go there. I don't even go there with the theory. But I suppose it's balancing the vibrations in your body. I guess is the way to do it, and that's how they would bring the frequencies into it. So you spoke about ley lines and that. Like there's talk that Newgrange is actually a healing chamber because the frequencies have been mentioned in there and have been measured in there, and they're at 1111 hertz, and that's the frequency for healing.
Okay.
So, then using crystals as opposed to modalities, the crystals have healing vibrations, and I suppose crystals are a good way of showing that it's not all woo-woo, because the energy in a clear quartz, which is essentially a crystal, powers your watch, powers your clocks. So there is an energy in that. But I suppose if you want to, you could go down the rabbit hole of scientific theory. But as I said, that is so far out of my interest.
And that's totally fair. It's like me to enjoy that kind of scientific nerdy side of things. That's why I love asking the question. And I think often the answers are nearly all there. It's just it takes someone to put them all together, So that can also be part of it. So it's just very, very interesting. And I suppose in Reiki, so you do different types of Reiki with animals. I can't remember the name you said that dogs really enjoy, but could you maybe, would you want to?
No, yeah, Rahani, celestial healing.
Celestial healing I'm going to go
with. Yes, that's all with angels and ascended masters.
Okay.
But it's a very much a vibration of love and an energy from the heart, and I think that's why animals really resonate with it.
Okay, and could you maybe describe a typical Reiki session that you do for an animal and what it all involves? Because I'm sure there's loads of people now saying, God, this sounds very interesting. What's this all about?
To be honest, most of the sessions I do are distant. But if I were to describe a hands-on session, so either I go to the animal's house or they come to me, and I just let them relax. You have to let them be a dog or a horse. You have to let them sniff around, get comfortable in their area. It's like with kids, you can't start and just force it on it quickly. They have to be comfortable first. Yeah. So in general, I work on the ground. So I just get down on the ground. I don't put them on tables like in the vets or anything like that. And what I generally do is, you just mentioned the chakras earlier.
Yeah.
And the chakras are the energy centers in our bodies. So we have them, animals have them. They have a few extra ones and different ones to us. And basically they are a column of energy down the center of our bodies and, horizontally along an animal's body. And if any one of those is out or blocked, it affects them in a particular way, whether it be physically or emotionally. It could affect their attitude. I'll tell you a funny story with my own dog later. But if any of those are out, they can interfere with the ones that are above them or below them, and you can just feel off. Like you might have at some point in your life thought, but I just don't feel right. But you can't pinpoint what's wrong with you. It could be a blocked chakra.
Yeah.
So what I do when I get an animal to begin with is I check their chakras, and I use a pendulum to check that. Mm-hmm. So I assess each chakra and I see what ones are possibly blocked or what ones need working on. When it comes to animals, I always check if chakras are overactive as well as underactive and blocked, because being underactive and overactive can affect their behaviour and their mannerisms as well. Mm-hmm. Just for an example, my own dog is a Staffy cross Jack Russell, and I have to do a lot of work on his solar plexus, so that's his I am presence, it's on who he is. And often, it kind of, when I got him first, I was kind of just watching him. He wasn't an aggressive dog, but he'd get a bit boisterous with mm-hmm. other dogs, and it would go very quickly from play to kind of like it would go too far too quickly. And while he never injured the dog, there was, it would turn a little slightly aggressive. And I was like, what is this about him? No, this isn't who he is. He's not an aggressive dog. He's not nasty. So as I did, checked him out, and he had an overactive chakra. Okay. So if you have a dog with an overactive solar plexus, mm-hmm. it can kind of make them a bit kind of like, I'm the man and I'm going to be a bit of a dickhead, to be honest.
The typical bulldog breed kind of stereotype as well.
Yeah. And I suppose I was very conscious of that because, when you have a breed that others judge, mm-hmm. you want to do everything you can, of course, to take away from that idea of the stereotype. So I probably wouldn't have been half as concerned if he had been a palm or something. Yeah. But the fact that people judge him already because he kind of looks quite staffy, I was adamant that he wouldn't be an aggressive dog. Yeah. And whatever route I had to go down, I mean, obviously for me, the energy centres were the first place to check. But then I would have, if that didn't pan out, I would have went down the route of training. But once I keep an eye on it now, he's like a different dog. It's amazing, really.
And you even mentioned there the solar plexus. So I, being the nerdy type of mindset that I am, I actually went off Googling this the other day when you had mentioned this in a voice note, and we'll get to that as well later. But you'd mentioned it, and I Googled it, and it's a medical term. Like it's literally, I was wondering, is it a concept? Is it kind of a rough area? Like what's it defined as? It's a knot of nerves that are right here, right? Just like kind of in the middle of your chest. It's so like this is a medical term as far as I could find out. Like it truly exists. So if someone's sitting there wondering what that is, it's genuinely a living thing that you can, I think, chop open and see inside. So
I suppose it's the chakra that most people would be most familiar with as well, because if you're nervous about something or if you're anxious about something, that's where you feel it in your belly. That's the energy. You're not feeling who you're supposed to feel like. Something is off and it's giving you a warning. Yeah. It's where you hold your intuition as well. That feeling in your gut, that gut feeling, that comes from the energy in your solar plexus saying, this is not for you, or yes, it is 100% for you. Okay, so there's
a lot of the dots being joined up for me here now. So you mentioned doing some healing on your own dog. Also during the last couple of days, you did a healing on Ruby, which is a fascinating experience from my side. It was really, really interesting to hear how you connected with her. You got so much information from your healing session with her in such a short time. So this was a distance healing, right? And everything you said really resonated with us. So and I've told you that already. I suppose a lot of people could also say, oh yeah, you could have also researched our Instagram page, but at this stage there's about 15, 16, 17 hours worth of Tuesday Talks, plus all the other content we put out. You'd want to be very, very dedicated.
I'm far too lazy, Killian.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I don't think there's anyone on the planet that has gone through all the content that we put out to get all that in. So very, very interesting experience. You had had an interesting connection with Ruby and definitely got touched on an awful lot of bits about her and her character, and I think you got to know her really well. How did you find the experience of healing with Ruby?
Well, I love working with animals, because when I first started working with animals, I couldn't believe how their energy was so different. And I mentioned that, after my little Staffy Cross was the first dog that I connected in with. And that excitement that when you come home from work and they're like, hey, that's what I could feel when I tapped into his energy. Whereas with people, it's usually very heavy and dense, and, they're coming for a healing. But even with what was going on with him, it was still just so light and so happy, and it's beautiful. Like, animals' energy is just completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But just to go back to the distant healing, I purposely don't ask people a lot about their animals, because that can influence me too. So when I'm channeling the healing modalities, and when I'm, trying to tap into the energy of the dog, I don't want that information to conflict what's coming in via messages to my head.
Okay.
Because the less I know, the more I can take as what's being given to me.
Mm-hmm.
So how I work it is, I usually ask for the name, the age, and the photograph. And if it's a rescue animal, I just ask how long you've had them. But other than that, I don't really I don't ask for any information. And sometimes people give it, but I just feel that's a more genuine way as well then to go about it,
Absolutely. And I suppose I can understand where you're coming from as well, because when you receive new information, you kind of try to put it into a box. So if you already have other surrounding information, you're going to say, you're going to explain things away in one direction or the other. So I totally get where you're coming from there.
I guess I do communicate with the animals while I heal with them, but I don't really, not that I don't advertise it, I do advertise it, but I don't offer it as a given, because communication is a two-way thing.
Yeah.
And you will have dogs who don't want to talk to you. They don't want to give you information. You'll have dogs that will take a couple of exchanges of energy to get familiar with you. I've worked with rescue dogs in the past that have just been, I guess, the sad thing is that I've had to ring the rescue and say, has this dog died? Because I'm picking up zero energy.
Okay.
Now, you can connect in with their energy after they pass as well, but that period in between, you can't make a connection with. And some animals would just be so neglected and abused that their energy is so low, it will take me quite some time to actually reach out to them. They're putting all their energy into staying alive.
Yeah.
Rather than communicating mentally. I suppose it's like if you were to go without water for a couple of days, your brain, your cognitive function starts to drop, because your body is using the liquid you have to function. So your brain drops, and that's kind of like the connection drops like that as well.
Complete survival mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's very sad.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, so do you work with a lot of rescue dogs? Do people often come to you with a dog that already has an issue, or what kind of situations do you often see people coming in looking for the energy healing?
It's very much an even mix.
Yeah.
You have people who are, who have physical ailments that would look for the energy healing. You have dogs near the end of life. Sometimes they come with their themselves and their kids, almost with the healing too. It's like a group healing to kind of aid the transition.
Yeah.
And then you have people who just, adore their dogs and want to give them something back. It's like you going for a massage.
Okay.
You might take a dog for a massage or a treatment, and you give them a little bit of healing. That's a nice treat for them.
And you mentioned kind of the physical side as well a little bit. So with things like joints and things like that, is energy healing something that can also be looked at in conjunction with veterinary and physio and the rest of it?
Yeah, so I suppose in conjunction there is a lovely word that you brought up, because energy healing is not an alternative therapy, and I by no means feel we could function without vets. I have the highest respect for them, but it's a complementary medicine, which means it working together, they can have beautiful effects together, and it's really important. I would never advise people to, stop taking medicine, alter things or stop going to their vet. There are certain situations where I would ask that the vet maybe check their medication after a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
Just to see if the same dosage is needed, especially with things like cardiovascular treatments, dogs with diabetes, things that can be on different levels, so to speak.
And that
so
makes total
things
sense. Because I think that makes total sense. And that's something that I think our community believes in so much. We've seen it on so many of these Tuesday talks of people saying, the holistic approach is the way to do it. Even with Ruby's luxating patella, it's not one thing. We do work with anti-inflammatories from time to time, but we also work with a canine physiotherapist, and we work with, so there's regular exercise. There's dietary components like the like omega oil and things like that. So there's so many different things that come together to make a holistic kind of therapy as well.
Absolutely.
So it's great.
And that's life in general, life with dogs, life with humans. Having it all going on and a balance of everything is what makes the wheel go around, I guess.
That's it. That's it. And are there any huge success stories that you want to talk about, or is there anyone that stands out?
I suppose, you see, the thing with energy healing, and this is probably going into the woo side of it now, is that from a spiritual point of view, we would believe that, and look, this is not what you want to hear if your dog is very ill or if you yourself are ill.
Sure.
But we believe that everything is happening for a reason and that there's a purpose for it. So a learning to be got from an illness or a sickness. And there's also a belief that we, and the dogs do too, or the animals do, choose our own life path, and we sign a soul contract. So almost like we know what we're signing up for before we enter this world. Now, common sense would have you saying, Jesus, I would not have signed that contract if I knew I was getting into this, serious illness or heartbreak or whatever. But unfortunately, that's what we believe we do, is that we sign these soul contracts and we go through what we go through to learn and grow. And if there's an illness, it's the same with a human as it is with an animal. If there's an illness that has been written into your soul contract that will terminate your life and you move on to the next, then unfortunately there is no healing in that. Sure. And we see that with medical situations as well. And also, I suppose we just believe that while things can be aided and treated, and some things can be helped to a stage where they're not. It's not necessary to medicate them anymore. It's more about making the body function and doing the best it can to go through whatever it's going through. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's make the best out of what you got, because destiny's going to happen anyway. But yeah, it's make the journey a bit easier to that destination kind of thing.
But I suppose, just even for example, there's one dog, and he actually just passed away 2 weeks ago. He was probably my first dog that wasn't my own that I treated, and he was a neighbour and a friend's dog, and he was a French Spaniel. Dodo was his name, and he was walking around with a massive external tumour. And he had been going to the vet, and the vet had said, look, it's not cancerous, it's not doing him any harm. He was, maybe 11 or 12 at the time. So as you can imagine, they were slow to put him under anaesthetic to remove something that really wasn't harmful to him. But he came into my space one day, and I would always ask permission. I don't ever treat any animal without permission from the owner. And I asked my friend Maria, I just said, look, do you mind if I give him some healing and connect in with him? And I could feel his pain. So he was in a lot more pain than he was showing. He wasn't outwardly showing any pain, going about his business. He has had 2 young kids in the house. He was besotted with them, really now was the joy of the house, but outwardly was showing no pain. And I suppose the external lump was maybe, how would I describe it? I suppose 3 or 4 inches out from his body, and slightly bigger than an orange. Okay. But he was showing me that he was in great pain. And so I gave him Rahani Celestial Healing. He showed me he was in great pain. He was just keeping it together for his family, basically. Yeah. And then he went through what we refer to as a healing crisis. Mm-hmm. So this can happen in people as well. He slept for about 8 hours after the Rahani session. He then started to get very cross and show how sore he was. He would only let one little girl in the house near him, who was his person.
Okay.
And I said, look, he's finally showing his pain. And so he was taken to the vet and they removed a tumour the size of a rugby ball.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can imagine the pain he was in, not the pain from that tumour itself, because it wasn't interfering with anything, but it was totally unbalancing him. So all the muscles on the left-hand side, all his left-hand side of the body, I suppose it'd be like if you carried a handbag with a boulder in it, you would be aching on one side, and that's what he was experiencing. But he was just going on with life, and he was just, oh, what a great dog. You know what? It's what they do.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all about us in their minds.
Absolutely.
So he got that removed, and he had a new lease of life completely. And unfortunately, he passed away only a couple of weeks ago, and that was over a year ago. Okay. So they had been kind of giving him 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, with his age and with carrying that tumour around, even though it wasn't cancerous, but they were just saying, you know, he was going downhill, but it was really not. It was just an age thing. So he did have. Yeah,
at least he got so much more out of it, and like being in severe pain and everything. I mean, that tumour must have been incredibly painful just from the impact that would have on your body. So it's fascinating.
Yeah. So it's amazing how, like, it wasn't really the tumour that was the tumour wasn't causing the pain, but it was the sheer mass of it that was straining everything.
Exactly.
But you know, he came to life so much that they actually got another dog. They rescued another little beagle, and he had so much time playing and had so much fun. And then it just meant, which I think is their way of doing things too, that now that he's gone, they have that other dog. So not that losing a dog is ever easy, but I think if you have one and you lose, there's such a massive void.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Whereas at least if you have another one there to kind of go with you through your grieving, it just makes that a little bit easier.
Yeah, especially because I suppose being a companion animal, like we were saying earlier, you need your companion most in the hard times. So it's I suppose it really, really helps them to have a pet as well, still alive and kicking. And I suppose you've explained a lot now all about it, but there's probably loads of people listening in now, and where can they find out more information about what you do? Because I feel we've only got to the tip of the iceberg, and there's so much more that people can explore with you as well. So where can they find out more about what you do and what this is all about?
So on Facebook and Instagram, the Wellness Hub is my name, so to speak, but I felt I had to have an animal page so that the people who weren't into animals weren't overflooded with animal stuff. Mm-hmm. So the Wellness Hub is for people, and as they will have seen here, it's Animal Healing Cork is the animal side.
Exactly. And I will I'll tag both of those as well when I'm posting up this recording as the reel, and I'll share it to the stories with both of the profiles tagged so that people can find you. Laura, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I know it's been a whistle-stop tour, and I'm sure you have way more to explain. It's been a brilliant introduction for me at least, and I hope lots of other people have found it really interesting as well. Guys, if you're watching in, do give Laura a follow on the 2 different profiles. And thanks a million for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And there will be people having questions, and they can just jump into my inbox. There is no problem. I will answer anything I can and point you in the direction, if I can't, of someone who can answer them.
There's loads of people writing into the comments already. I don't know if you can see them or not, saying thank you so much. Super interesting. So big thumbs up.
As you said, only the tip of the iceberg, but I really appreciate having space to talk. And thank you so much for having me on, Killian.
And we appreciate all of the information and everything that you've shared. Thank you. Have a brilliant evening, and hope to speak to you soon. Thank
care.
you.
Bye.